everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Robin, or A Hobbit's Reading List, and this week we are still recovering from being sick, but we are also going to try to plow through an entire series in 1 week, because I'm meeting Freya Marske, who is the author of the Last Binding series, on Saturday, so that she can sign the last book in her series coming out. And I'm super excited. But I also want to reread the first 2 books in the trilogy. So let's see if we can actually do that. Good morning. I'm trying to think of what I did yesterday. I had book club. So I drove to Chicago last night for the book club meeting. It went pretty well, and on my way there and on my way back, I listened to more of Spellbound, so I have pretty much like 45 minutes left, so I'll finish it today. And I mentioned this in, I think, last week's vlog, where I was concerned that based off of where I was when like the major plot point happened, that the resolution would be very sudden. And I think that's still gonna happen, because I have less than an hour left and the plot point isn't resolved, and so I'm not anticipating a lot of like satisfying resolution. So I'm a little bummed about that, but we'll see. I will, film a clip later on and let you know if I was right. But it's fine. I would honestly, I would be surprised if this got a 4-star, because it's just not hitting the way that I thought it would, which is upsetting. Because it was like recommended to me, and so usually I expect those to be like pretty good. And I also think, I'm not positive, but I think no. I was gonna say, like, I think this was a 5-star prediction when I played my TBR game. I don't think it was. I think I had a 5-star prediction, but I think that was for Little Women. So, but it'll be, we'll see. And other than that, I didn't really read much yesterday. I started reading The Jew of New York by Ben Katchor, which is about essentially various people in New York City, most of whom are Jewish or have some ties to Judaism in like 1830, and sort of their interactions. I only read like 18 pages, so I can't really tell you what it's about. I know that there's a mention of Mordechai Noah, who like in 1825 led sort of like a group of Jews to settle in northern New York, and as like a way of establishing a Jewish state. And it didn't work, obviously, but it did really happen. And so I thought that was really interesting, because I hadn't realized that. I knew that there had been previous efforts to establish a Jewish state, but I didn't realize that there had been one in America, so that was kind of interesting. And yeah, this is a book I'm reading for class, so I'm expecting a lot of discussion, and I don't know. I'm always nervous about talking about Judaism in a larger context with strangers, just because I don't think it can be denied that like there's a level of hesitancy about like if I'm safe or not. So yeah. So I'm not really looking forward to class today, but we'll see what happens. But other than that, I don't really have a lot going on. I have class, I have work, I will finish Spellbound. I will probably finish The Jew of New York today, so that tomorrow I can start reading A Marvellous Light, which is the first book in the Last Binding series, because I meet the author on Saturday. And so I really want to, I want to reread them. So, yeah, so that's the plan, and let's see if the plan actually works. Good morning. I I was just gonna film a clip, but apparently I'm gonna do it with a cat in my face. Say hi, Bastion. Say hi. Oh, and Reese has joined as well. This is gonna be very chaotic. So I read quite a bit yesterday, and then I didn't film a clip because I got home and I just passed out immediately. I was so tired. I'm feeling less tired today, which I think means that I'm, recovering from being sick, but I also slept for about 11 hours, 10 hours. Yeah. So I just don't want to feel as tired as I did yesterday. As for reading, I finished Spellbound on my way to class yesterday, and it was fine. It was exactly what I thought was going to happen. Well, not exactly. What I predicted about the ending happened. I was trying to, as I was listening to it, trying to bring things in that I would do if I was writing it, that I felt would tie more things together, would make it more engaging and interesting, and those things didn't happen. So I was like, oh, I feel like missed an opportunity there. Which is not the best, because if I'm reading a book, I'm reading it to be entertained, and if I'm actively thinking at the time of what would make this more interesting, I'm not being entertained. So, but it was fine. It was okay. So I gave it 3.5 stars. Just, I think for what it was good. It was just not for me. I don't hate it. I liked it. I liked parts of it more than others. But I had some issues. So I finished that, and then almost immediately after class, I started listening to The Murder at the Vicarage by Agatha Christie. I could only get it on Audible, so I had to use a credit, which is a bummer, because I try not to do that, because I like to stockpile them. And because it was on Audible, it kept the speed that I listened to Spellbound, so it was at 1.2, which, honestly, I've adjusted, and I like it, I think. There are some times where it gets a little jarring, but otherwise, 1.2 I think is a decent speed to listen to an audiobook, and it's 20% faster. So Murder at the Vicarage is about this vicar. He's the main character, I guess. I don't know his first name. His last name is Clement. And he starts out the book by saying that this Colonel Prothero, or whatever his name is, should die because he makes everyone miserable. And then later on, maybe the next day, he's murdered. And we find out some stuff, and so you go into it assuming you know who killed him, obviously, because it's an Agatha Christie novel. I have theories, because I've read Agatha Christie before, and so I know that the most obvious answer is not always the correct one. In fact, it very rarely is. And so I'm just I'm looking at everyone, who did it? I have guesses. But I listened to about a little over 2 hours last night, so I'm a quarter of the way through, and I'm enjoying it. It's fine. It's one of those things where I'm I don't know. It's okay. I'm never going to be like my dad and listen to all the Agatha Christie novels. I think it's a good thing to listen to during October, but it's fine. maybe if I'm surprised at who the killer is, then I will probably enjoy it more. But right now, I have a theory, and I think it's a pretty strong theory. So, we'll see. And other than that, I read, I think, like 30 pages of The Jew of New York. I really wanted to finish it last night, but like I said, I got home and I just immediately fell asleep. So, I'm going to try to finish it today so that I can move on to rereading the Last Binding series. And The Jew of New York it's just weird. It's just kind of weird. It's just kind of a weird book. I think I already gave the synopses, so, I mean, kind of. It doesn't really have a story. At least it doesn't feel like it. I think I'm like halfway through. And yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. But I'm going to really try to finish it tonight because I want to be done with it. I want to read a book for fun. I want to stop reading books for class. Just for just a little bit. So, yeah, so that's kind of it. Today we're going to go to work. A very busy day. So we'll be reading in between meetings where we can. We'll listen to more of Murder at the Vicarage. I don't think I'll finish Murder at the Vicarage before November. I think I will finish it probably Sunday. And at that point, I will probably just move on to whatever my November books are. I won't try to cram Smart Women in. Because I don't work Friday, and so I lose that community time. So yeah, so that's what's going on. And I have to get ready for work now. But hopefully it's better than yesterday. So I realized I'd never filmed yesterday. I had a really good reading day. I'm trying to think. I read 4 different things yesterday. So I'll go in order. I finished Jew of New York. It was strange. It had a lot of different plot lines going through it. And they were all resolved just in a very strange way. I'm not quite sure what the point was. What the point of the story was. And so I didn't know really how to rate it. So yeah, I gave it, I think I gave it a 3. Maybe a 3.5. No, I gave it a 3. Yeah, because it was just, I don't know what to make of it. It's kind of where it was fine, but mainly just I don't know what it was doing. So that's that. I listened to about, say probably another hour and a half-ish of Murder at the Vicarage. I think I have a little over an hour left of it. So I will finish that Sunday, because even though I'm driving to Chicago tomorrow for the book signing, Chris will be with me, and so I'm not going to be able to listen to the audiobook. But I still think my theory is correct. I'm not saying what my theory is, because if I'm correct, then it's a spoiler, and if I'm not correct, then it's kind of a spoiler for, like, a red herring. So I am intrigued, though. I did tell my dad, though, because he's read all Agatha Christie novels. I told him that it was different than I was expecting it to be, because the other Agatha Christie's that I've read have been Poirot. And so I guess because this is a Miss Marple, I guess I was expecting it to be sort of a similar setup, just with a different detective. And it's not set up like that, which is fine. I actually am enjoying it. I was just, like, anticipating it being structured differently. But I do really like the narrator. I think he's really funny. And I'm interested to see if my theory is correct. So I'll finish that this week. I had to go get an oil change yesterday, which means that I just waited at the dealership because it took like an hour. So I brought 2 books and I read both of them because I decided what I'm going to do. Because I want to reread the first 2 books in the Last Binding series since I'm getting the 3rd book tomorrow. But I also have to read a Wodehouse book for the podcast that I do with my dad. And so I'm just going to do both. So pretty much my dad and I agreed that we are going to record this episode of the podcast on the 4th. So that means that as of yesterday, I had like 9 days. So I broke it up and I'm going to read 4 sections a day, which yesterday, so I read, I think 33 pages yesterday, and the font is pretty sizable, so it really wasn't that much. So I read 33 pages of that yesterday. I'm not quite sure what the plot is yet. With the Wodehouse books, I don't look at them at all. Like, that sounds weird. I don't look at them before I start reading. So I don't read the synopses, I don't read the blurbs, I don't read anything about it. I go into it completely blind because I think it makes it more interesting to have my annotations where I'm just trying to figure out what's happening. And so I think it makes it interesting for the podcast. So right now, I have no idea what's happening. I only know that we met this guy whose name is Jerry, and he's in Paris, and he lost his wallet. And so he goes to the police station, and he's interacting with a sergeant who sounds like a massive asshole and is making him do all these, like, protocols. And after, like, 15 minutes or something, he finally says, like, oh, yeah, I have your wallet, but I can't give it to you because there's all these protocols. And even though Jerry has been doing the protocols, he's supposed to wait 3 days for some reason to get his wallet. And it's a really funny interaction, and I actually really enjoyed it. I don't think that Jerry is the main character, but I enjoy this introduction. Yeah, we'll see. I'm going to read another 4 sections today, and we'll sort of see what happens there. And then, once I read those 4 sections, I switched over to reading A Marvellous Light, which is the first book in the Last Binding series. I also reread it last year. I'm trying to remember if I filmed a vlog for it. I don't think I did. No, because the second book would have come out in November. I didn't start until December. So, for people who don't know, The Last Binding is an alternate universe historical fantasy. Yeah. It's set in Edwardian times in like 1908. And it is about, A Marvellous Light is about this guy named Robin. Hey. Who gets a position with the government in this, like, branch that he's never heard of, and it sounds like a demotion, quite honestly, because his parents had some enemies. And he's mistakenly put in this government position where he discovers that magic is a real thing. There's a whole magic society, and he's thrust into it, like, just so quickly, and so many things happen. But to guide him and educate him is Edwin. And Edwin has his own issues, and they're just, it's so good. I absolutely love it. I credit this book with getting me back into reading after not reading for fun for like a decade because of school, pretty much. And so I really love this series. This will be my third time rereading it, and I'm really excited for the last book. And yeah, so I probably won't talk about A Marvellous Light too much just because this is a reread, but I'm really enjoying being back in the world. So I read 4 things yesterday. I'm not going to read that much today. But today's Friday. I took today off so that I could get caught up / ahead on some things, because I have homework and I have reading, and I also write fan fiction as well. And since school started, I haven't really been able to write a lot of fan fiction, and I signed up for an exchange that is due in December, and so I want to make more progress on that. So, as well as like cleaning and holiday preparations and everything. Like I have a lot that I feel like I need to get just caught up on, and so I took today off to do that. And I just finished writing for like 30 minutes, and I wrote half a page, which it's not bad. So I'm going to continue doing things, and I will check in with you later about what I've read today. Hello, quick update. It's Saturday now. I finished reading my reread of A Marvellous Light by Freya Marske. It's still a 5-star. I think it will always be a 5-star no matter how many times I read it. We just got back from the book signing. It was really cool to hear Freya talk about like her process and some of the deleted scenes that she had to take out, and it was really cool. So I have a signed copy of A Power Unbound, and I'm very eager to read it, but I have to reread A Restless Truth first. And so despite the things that I have to do for like school and to keep the house running and stuff like that, I think I'm just going to spend the rest of the night reading A Restless Truth, so maybe tomorrow I can start A Power Unbound. And of course, if I spend the rest of the night reading A Restless Truth, that means that I will have to read more of Frozen Assets tomorrow, but that's okay. So yeah, that's sort of the plan. And tomorrow we will finish A Murder at the Vicarage, so I'll check in then. So I finished listening to Murder at the Vicarage. I enjoyed it. I felt like, I don't know, I felt like the ending was not what I predicted, but I also felt like it was kind of a cop-out. I don't know. There was something dissatisfying about the ending and finding out who did it. So I gave it a 3-star. Because it was good. I did enjoy it, but it's just one of those things where I'm like, So now I'm going to finish up my workday at home because the rest of my meetings are virtual. And I'm also planning on filming my TBR today. So I will find out what books I'll be reading in November, and then I will start a new audiobook on Tuesday. And after I film my TBR, I will probably honestly just finish reading A Restless Truth so that way I can start a Power Unbound either tonight or tomorrow. Because I would like to get it. I don't want to rush it, but I would like to get it done because I'm very curious. So that's sort of the plan. And I have 30 more minutes before our next meeting, so I'm going to go ahead and read. Okay, so before I start reading for the day, I'm going to wrap up this vlog. I've done so much reading this week, mainly because I've been rereading the last Binding series. I did finish reading A Restless Truth, still 5 stars. It's still really good, and I immediately picked up a Power Unbound. And I'm about, I think, 40% of the way through it. I pretty much filmed my TBR last night after I finished with work. And then as soon as that was done, I came downstairs and just read the rest of the night while Chris was watching football. So, so I've been very productive. I'm not expecting this next week to be as productive, but this series just like sucks me in and I just don't want to put it down and I want to know what happens next. And so I'm glad that I'm finally reading Power Unbound. It's really good. So definitely go check out the last Binding series if you haven't already. But other than that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this vlog. I had a really good time. I'm trying to think of how many books have I read this week. I finished Spellbound. I finished A Murder at the Vicarage. So that's 2. I finished Jew of New York. That's 3. And then I finished A Marvellous Light and A Restless Truth. I finished 5 books this week. I haven't done that in so long. Oh, that feels good. Even if I've only done it because I sacrificed pretty much doing everything Saturday and Sunday. Woo! So yeah, so that's it for this week. Go ahead and like the video, leave a comment, subscribe, click notification bell, all the good, amazing things that make me feel wonderful. And let's see what I can accomplish next week, I guess. Bye.